Okay, let's talk about H.R. 125. For those who are not aware, it is a gun control bill filed. It's been introduced. It has not gone any further than that. It hasn't gone to the House or the Senate yet, but given the current political makeup of what's going on in D.C., very likely it could at least see one side or the other. So let's go over what. Let's go over it real quick. It was introduced by Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, I believe representative over Houston. I could be wrong. I do know she is a Democrat politician in Texas, and she has a. That's a nice way of putting it. She is dead set on gun legislation in the state of Texas and at the federal level. Every time there's a gun debate in Texas or at the federal level, she's one of the politicians that's dead in the middle of it. Okay, now this was filed by her. She filed two bills on the same day, H.R. 125, H.R. 127. We're going to talk about 125 today. I'll talk about 127 later down the road. Now, what this is called is the Gun Safety Not Sorry Act of 21. Yeah, I'm not joking. She literally named this Gun Safety Not Sorry Act of 21. I thought I seriously I had to do a double take on that. But at the meat and potatoes of this is simple. They want to amend Title 18 United States Code to provide for a 7-day waiting period for a semi-automatic firearm, a silencer, armor-piercing ammunition, or large capacity ammunition magazine may be transferred. So what that means is when you go in to buy a magazine, a rifle, ammo, anything semi-automatic related, she wants to institute a 7 to 10 day waiting period. To 10 day waiting. I'll get to the 10 day part in just a second. But that's essentially what is here on the offset. But her justification for this bill is what I found to be very interesting here. Of course, in the findings is the usual nonsense rhetoric about the number of mass shootings that happen in this country on a day-to-day basis. No, just I cannot believe they can still spew rhetoric like this and get away with it. But it doesn't even surprise me at this point. They've been doing it from when I started paying attention. It was in 2012, which of course she lists Sandy Hook in this bill as one of the motives behind this. This piece of legislation. She lists two shootings in this bill. She lists Sandy Hook, and she lists Las Vegas. But she wants you to believe that in the United States that there's one mass shooting per day, and that in the year of 2015 there were 355. That number is heavily inflated, severely inflated. Now, granted, she says that's how many mass shootings there are in that 1 year, and that we nearly have one per day. I'm gonna call a spade on that. I think that sounds a little more inflated to get people on board with this bill and on board with this legislation, no matter how ridiculous it is. I'm trying to be as nice as I possibly can here. That's what they want you to believe, and that's just not true. You go to the next page. Right here. Oh, sorry, it's at the bottom of this one. Yeah, my favorite one. Victims of gun violence resulting in more than 33,000 deaths annually. Well, okay, define gun violence here, because are you actually talking about when you get down to it, what causes most of the gun crime in this country? Or are you just talking about, or like you said here at the top, you're just referring to mass shootings? There should be. If you're going to say there was that many in that 1 year alone, then maybe you should have provided an example of each. I'm just saying. I'm not a politician. Not yet. Maybe someday. Don't know. We'll see. Oh, 92 Americans are victims of gun violence, resulting in more than 33,000 deaths annually. On average a day. No. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When you get down to it, that number just does not add up. It don't. The main weapon you're targeting here, because let's be honest, you're targeting one specific one, but you're throwing the blanket term of semi-automatic over it, because you want to cover all of them at once. The main one you're talking about is responsible for less than 1% of that, and that is coming straight from the FBI. Most of the gun violence in this country is committed with handguns. Yeah, I said it. Handguns. Not the spooky AR-15, handguns. Trust me. For all of you who think they only want ARs. No, they don't. They don't. They will not admit it because they done had one of their coworkers who stood at the podium and said, "Hell yeah, we're gonna come take your guns." Look how well that worked out for him. He didn't make it. I'm sorry, he did not make it to be president of the United States. I think he went back to Congress or whatever position he had. I think he went back to it. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to check. But needless to say, he had to drop out of the presidential race very soon thereafter that. So they know that coming out and outright saying what they want to do is political suicide. Beto O'Rourke was proof of that. Already talked about that. 30 years of homicide data found that every 1% increase in states' gun ownership rate, there is nearly 1% increase in firearm homicide rate. No. Again, heavily inflated statistic here. When you look at what causes most of the gun deaths in this country, it's handguns and gang violence, and I guarantee you, most of those true hardcore gangbangers are convicted felons. They can't just walk in a store and buy a gun. If they want one, they're going to go get it from somebody. They're going to steal it or they're going to go buy it illegally. No. Doesn't happen. I'm sorry. Okay, here. Now, this is what really irked me. And it made me go on my own little, go and do some homework. Okay, she wants to say gun death rates are generally lower in states with restrictions such as safe storage requirements or assault weapon bans. Then explain Chicago. Explain Chicago. Explain New York. You can't. You can't. You won't. You can't. Anybody brings up those two cities, and immediately all Democrats do this. She's not the only one. All of them who are anti-gun will do this. You bring up Chicago or New York, and they immediately stop. They quit. They don't want to pursue the argument any further because they've already lost and they know it. The two cities in this country that is the absolute hardest to obtain or own a gun have the most gun violence. So by their logic, the less legal gun owners in that city should make you more safer, and it doesn't. It doesn't make no sense. I mean, seriously. Every weekend, damn near every weekend, you look at the news. There's more kids being killed in Chicago. More. It's most, and it's sad, but it's true. It's mostly kids being caught in the crossfire. Seems to me like maybe instead of going after legal gun owners, maybe that I'm not trying to tell anybody how to do their job, but maybe the people over the city of Chicago should seriously look at how to stop the gang violence problem rather than attack the gun owners. But the immediate response is to take away their guns. On with the rambling here. Mass shooting stopped by armed civilians in the past 33 years. 0. Hold on a minute. Hold on. This is where me doing my own homework comes in handy here. Mass shooting stopped by armed civilians. I found 24 examples in the last... that list went back to 97, so let's just say a little more or less 20 years, over 20 examples. If she wants to say in the past 33 years, it's the number is 0, but yet out of the 24 examples I found 4 in the state of Texas alone. Although one you could argue either way, counts or don't count, but you be the judge. Example number 1, December 29th, 2019, White Settlement. We all remember this. Okay, this dude comes in with a shotgun. One of the ushers or parishioners of the church pulls out his concealed carry handgun and he shoots him. Shot him dead, middle of the church. Dude was there to do harm. There was a good guy with a gun there and it was taken care of. The most notable and most argued example, November 5th, 2017, Sutherland Springs. Shooter armed with an AR-15 rifle fatally shot and killed 27 people. 27, 26 adults, 1 unborn child. The shooter himself, and he injured 20. I'm sorry, I skipped over that. That was my mistake. And the shooter himself was fatally shot and killed by a civilian with his own AR-15. Good guy with an AR-15 shows up and drops the bad guy. Ends the argument. Number 3, May 3rd, Arlington, Texas. Shooter walks into a bar, fatally shoots the manager, and gets shot and killed by a licensed concealed carry holder. Fourth and final example, and this is the one you could argue either way, it does or doesn't count, but okay. May 3rd, 2015, Garland, Texas. 2 shooters opened fire at Curtis Colwell Center, fatally shooting 2 and injuring 3. Ultimately, were shot and killed and stopped by armed security personnel and local police. Now, you can argue either way, that one does or doesn't count, but either way, an armed security guard is not a police officer. In the eyes of the law, he or she is still considered a civilian, but their job is still very important and just as dangerous. It can be just as dangerous for them as it is for a police officer. Granted, we take our security guards for granted. We really shouldn't. I mean, they do have one of the toughest jobs out there outside of being a cop themselves. So I'm sorry, that blows your logic completely out of the water. Because of more than 75% of the weapons used in mass shootings between 1982 and 2012 were obtained legally, stronger legislation is needed to prevent guns from getting into the wrong hands. What you fail to mention, or what they all fail to mention, not just her, but every other Democrat politician, Feinstein, Pelosi, they're all the same. They'll all do this. They fail to mention that in every instance there was a mass shooter, there were warning signs. There were times where the authorities could have stepped in and stopped it. For whatever reason, they didn't. You take Parkland, for example. For 3 months, 3 damn months, the cops were called to his house. He posted in a post on YouTube, in a comment section, he would be the next school shooter. Nothing was done. There was no investigation. Nothing. The instant argument to that is red flag laws, but that's for a different video. Okay. All right. Now, what page was it on? Okay, it was up here. Okay, they talked about there being 355 mass shootings in 2015 alone. Okay, hold on. According to the FBI themselves, 277 shootings from 2000 to 2018 overall with 884 deaths, 1,556 wounded, an average of 49 deaths per year, and 86 wounded per year, with only 134 of those deaths in 2015 alone. So, if there were 335 mass shootings in 2015 by themselves, how in the world are there only 134 dead? Either your numbers are, either the numbers are way inflated here, or the people who perpetrated those shootings were terrible shots. Just saying. Now let's get down to the meat and potatoes of this whole thing. Section 3, HR 125 states, 7-day waiting period required before the transferring of a semi-automatic firearm. Remember that. Silencer, armor-piercing ammunition, or large capacity ammunition magazine. You mean standard capacity? Standard capacity for a rifle is 30 rounds. Although most guys would download that to 28, but you get the picture. 30 rounds in a magazine. Nope, their standard capacity is 30. The high capacity are 100 round drums which are more or less range toys. I don't see a practical use or reason for those. I personally don't. But if you maybe if you're a hog hunter who hunts from a helicopter, maybe that I could see. But I'm just saying, don't get mad at me. I'm just give my own opinion here. Believe me, if you believe in the Second Amendment, I'm on your side. I'm just saying. Transferred by licensed importer, licensed manufacturer, or licensed dealers to persons not licensed. So meaning, what they want to put in place is a 7-day waiting period, but it can be extended to 10 days, and this is how. 7 business days, meaning a day on which the state offices are open, have elapsed since the licensed contracted. The licensee contacted the system, and the system has not notified. Oh hell! Sorry, I went off base here. But what I'm saying is, it can be anywhere from 7 to 10 days. I don't understand how doing this is going to help with the issue here. I just don't get it. I don't get how it's going to help. Because from where I'm sitting, from what I can see, and what I have seen, is when somebody is motivated to do harm, they have already passed that threshold where human life no longer matters to them. They'll wait however long it takes. But I'm willing to bank that most politicians who are pushing for this, they know that, and they're banking on that. They're banking on this passing, this becoming law, and then they're going to sit back and wait. It's human nature. Somewhere, something's going to happen. Boom, all of a sudden, oh no, this didn't work. But instead of rolling it back and admitting that it was a failure, they'll add to it. I suspect that's what HR 127 is. I haven't looked at that one yet. I have not gone through 127 yet, but I will. Okay, like I said, when the state offices are open, so that would exclude weekends and federal holidays. So you could be waiting up to 7 to 10 days for your magazines, and as they put it, armor-piercing ammunition. But that could also be extended to ammunition in general. That can easily be revised to ammunition in general. Let's see if I can find it here. Okay. The term semi-automatic firearm means any repeating firearm which utilizes a portion of energy of firing a cartridge to extract the fired cartridge case and chamber the next round, in which requires a separate pulling of the trigger to fire each cartridge. So there you go. All of you who sit back and say, just let them take the ARs. Give up the ARs so that they won't come for my shotguns. I got news for you. If we bend over backwards and we quit, if people bend over backwards, they quit fighting. They say, here, take the ARs. We don't want them. Then the next time there's a mass shooting, they'll be coming for your handguns. It's right there. Semi-automatic. That covers, I want to say 80% of any firearm on the market today is semi-automatic. The most popular rifle in the country right now is semi-automatic. The most popular handgun on the planet is semi-automatic. This would put a 7 to 10 day waiting period on that handgun. And they do not specify any special provisions if you happen to be a law enforcement officer. That might be added in later. I'm not 100% sure. Now, term large capacity magazine. Any magazine means a magazine belt, drum, feed strip. I don't know why they said feed strip. That don't make no sense. Or similar device that has a capacity of, or that can readily restore or convert it to accept more than 10 rounds of ammunition. The 94 crime bill and the aftermath of that proved that is pointless. This is more feel-good legislation. This is all this is. This is exactly what this is. Now let's get to right here. I think this is It shall be unlawful for a person who is not a licensed importer, licensed manufacturer, or licensed dealer in or affecting interstate or foreign commerce to transfer to another person who is not licensed a semi-automatic firearm, a silencer, armor-piercing ammunition, or large-capacity magazine unless at least 7 business days have elapsed in time since the transferee most recently offered or agreed to acquire the semi-automatic firearm, silencer, or ammunition. Now, they wrote that bill, and they call it Firearms Safety Not Sorry Act. I'll give them credit. It's very very cleverly named, so that anybody who argues it, you let them say, "What, you are against firearms safety? You're against gun safety?" See how that works? You throw that sentence out there, you can easily turn people against them. All I'm saying is this. They're twisting the facts to get people behind this bill. And there's more bills like this to come. Every anti-gun bill that comes down the pipeline in the next 2 years, from now to midterms, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to spew the same rhetoric, the same fact, the same nonsense that's out there. It's funny how they only quote the CDC when it comes to that. They say the CDC is facts on this. Okay, how in the world are the Centers of Disease Control the authority on crime in this country? Shouldn't that be the FBI? Isn't that their job? I don't know. I guess the point I'm trying to make is this: the Democratic Party and the media spent 4 years fact-checking the President of the United States on everything he said. He could have just simply stated the sky was blue, and they would have still said he was wrong, and they would have listed 100 different shades of the color blue to say that the sky is not blue, it's in fact this color. Don't believe the nonsense. Please research this bill. If you live in Miss Jackson Lee's district, respectfully voice your grievance. You have a right to contact any of your representatives, any of your politicians, but do it respectfully. Don't be an idiot, please. When you call them and be an idiot and use certain words, it makes it very difficult for us to get what we want and very, very easy for them to get what they want. But I guess people like me, we get fact-checked all the time. Who fact-checks them?